Hello and welcome to this presentation as part of the Cambridge Zero Climate Change Festival 2020. My name is Matthew Ling and I'm the project lead for the Cambridge Canopy Project at Cambridge City Council. This session is going to focus on our urban forest and a future-proof city. Climate change is upon us, and extreme events, phenomena and impacts linked to its effects are increasingly being recorded. The scale and severity of the challenge presented by climate change has been widely communicated and commented on by leading figures and organisations. It is the greatest threat to life as we know it. With such a seemingly insurmountable task at hand, it's easy to feel as though there is little we can do on a personal level to help in the fight. But that is far from the case, and the seemingly impossible can be achieved when we collectively work towards a common goal. For example, this tiny creature is a termite. It is only about 1 centimetre long, and yet by working together, thousands of tiny termites can create massive structures weighing hundreds of kilograms, millions of times heavier than each individual termite alone. To bring about change at a global scale, each one of us has a role to play and a care of duty to execute. And together, by taking action, like those tiny termites, we can and must do it. We can each contribute to the challenge in some way. This might be by moving to more sustainable diets, insulating our homes better, doing more journeys by bike or on foot, taking fewer international holidays, adopting greener technology and transport, or greening our homes and gardens by planting more trees and plants. In isolation, each of these actions may feel inconsiderable, but together, our actions combined can make a difference. Residents of Cambridge, working collaboratively to grow our urban forest, is the perfect metaphor to describe how we can go about scaling up small individual efforts into local, regional, national and global level change. But first, what is urban forestry? Unlike the image here, urban forestry does not mean building trees or tree-like structures. In fact, urban forestry is an approach of managing trees in urban environments. It requires that all trees in a town or city are seen and managed as one continuous single population. By considering all the trees in Cambridge as a single unit, regardless of who owns them, we can seek to maximise the social, environmental and economic benefits they provide. By considering the cumulative benefits supplied by the entire tree population across towns and cities in this way, it is possible to measure and manage the impacts on and influences of our trees on processes such as climate change. So let's take a look at Cambridge's urban forest. The current tree canopy cover of Cambridge's urban forest extends to 17% of the total area of the city. It is made up of more than 330,000 individual trees and shrubs exceeding 1.2 metres in height. Of these trees, by far the greatest majority are privately owned. More than 74% of the city's trees are privately owned. That is nearly 250,000 trees residing in residential gardens, college grounds, or on other institutional land. And this is perhaps not surprising, given that 77% of the city is made up of privately owned land. The greatest single land use in Cambridge is residential land. It covers a total of 39% of the city. Our front and back gardens really should be seen as green oases in the city. They provide homes to hundreds of thousands of trees and shrubs and form the spine of our urban forest. And it's perhaps just as well that our gardens are so rich in terms of tree canopy cover. As whilst there is seemingly a lot of green open space in Cambridge, nearly 50% of the total land area, the proportion that is accessible is actually very low, only 6%. And this means that our gardens are even more important and valuable in terms of providing us access to nature and the benefits it provides. Breaking the residential land area of the city down a bit further, we find that there are more than 54,000 individual residences in Cambridge, and it is estimated that about 45,000 of these have at least a front or a back garden. So, if each of these properties with a garden planted a single new tree, we would have 45,000 new trees, increasing the total tree population of the city by more than 13%. The importance of planting more trees in terms of growing our urban forest cannot be underestimated. But in terms of pure impact, the single biggest thing we can do to maintain our canopy cover and ensure we meet our 2050 target is to protect our existing trees. Established mature trees are significant components of our tree canopy cover. For each individual mature tree lost from our urban forest, many new young trees will be required to plug the hole that it leaves behind. Wherever possible, therefore, it is important that we cherish the existing trees across Cambridge. The most commonly known climate benefit of trees is that they sequester or remove carbon from our atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide. It is stated that an average broadleaf tree in the UK will sequester about 1 tonne of carbon dioxide during its lifetime, assuming it lives for about 100 years. But there are many other ways in which trees help to fight climate change. Studies carried out by the United States Environmental Protection Agency found that trees and other vegetation can lower ground surface temperatures through shading alone by as much as 25 degrees Celsius compared to peak temperatures of unshaded ground surfaces. This cooling prevents heat attenuation in urban and built environments. In other words, surfaces like concrete and tarmac effectively acting like batteries, storing up the sun's energy and making towns and cities several degrees warmer than neighbouring rural settings. The foliage of vegetation like trees can also reflect the sun's rays and energy, which also helps to prevent the heating of ground surfaces. Furthermore, evapotranspiration from trees, that is, the movement of water for perspiration and its evaporation from foliage, driving processes like photosynthesis, can reduce air temperature by 1 to 5 degrees Celsius by actively using heat energy from the surrounding air to drive evaporation as they perspire. Then there are the ways in which trees prevent the use of energy and the release of carbon as a result. For example, it is estimated that a single urban tree planted to provide shade in California prevents the combustion of 18 kilograms of carbon per year by avoiding the use of air conditioning. Other so-called avoided costs include factors like trees influencing increases in the level of walking and cycling, reducing carbon liberation from car travel, and trees providing shade, which slows the rate at which roads and pavements break down as a result of solar heating and degradation, and in so doing, decreasing the need to replace them and the carbon involved in doing so. By introducing more trees and vegetation into our towns and cities, we will lessen the effects of climate change and ensure that they remain pleasant and comfortable places to live into the future. So, coming back to the analogy of the very small termites and the extremely big termite mound from earlier, we can see that our small individual actions to be more climate conscious, when brought together and considered and counted for as one, can achieve considerable impact in tackling the climate emergency. And by growing our urban forest, this in turn contributes to wider tree planting and tree cover targets, helping to increase our national level contributions to combating climate change, showing us how our contributions really do scale up to contribute to global level impact. But growing our urban forest isn't just about climate change. There are multiple benefits to be realised from having more trees and more canopy cover in our urban forest, and from it being more resilient and healthier. Trees really are like the superheroes of the natural world. Their presence and being exposed to them has been found to have measurable benefits on us in numerous ways. Here are just a few examples, including the reduction of stress, aiding post-surgical recovery, and reducing the rates of violent crime in our cities. But they also clean our air, protect us from noise pollution, provide us with building materials and food, and can lessen the effects of severe weather events. And these benefits are realised by everyone. The urban forestry concept sees us manage a city's trees as one population regardless of ownership. And this same approach means that the benefits provided by every individual tree in our collective urban forest are realised by all residents, users, and visitors to our city alike. Even without consciously knowing it, everyone benefits from these services provided by trees in our urban forest. That's why the Cambridge Canopy Project has been established. It is part of a broader Interreg 2Cs programme project called Nature Smart Cities Across the 2Cs, and it aims to grow our urban forest by 2%, making our city more resilient to the impacts likely to be brought about by climate change. The Cambridge Canopy Project is planting 2,000 trees across public spaces in the city over the next few years. But to hit our 2% canopy cover increase target, we need you to get involved too. As described earlier, the greatest opportunity for tree planting exists on private land, and specifically in gardens across the city. Climate change is a challenge that affects us all. By working together to address it, by each planting one new tree in our gardens, for example, our contributions can add up to make a difference locally and beyond. Thank you for joining this session to hear about our urban forest and a future-proof city. And thank you to the festival organisers for including us in this schedule. For more information on the Cambridge Canopy Project, or details of how you can get involved, please visit our website or follow us on Twitter.